Chapter 1: The Wasted Sands. They say in the desert you can die of 3 things: a rattlesnake bite, dehydration, and the sun. I was dying of boredom. See, Angel isn't what you'd call the typical chatty Cathy. The man barely makes a sound when he takes a shit. I mean, a dog will make a sound when they shit, I think. Haven't seen a damn dog in years. Lord knows I'd love a bite. Course, now I've gone completely off topic. See Angel. He's the kind of guy that'll walk through the burning desert in a grey cloak, a top mop of long blonde hair, with only a single skin of water to help him reach the other side. Course, if there is another side, no one's been beyond no man's land in, oh what? An odd 40 years? And I don't think it's from a lack of trying. As he trudges along what I can only assume to be the dried, cracked remnants of an old lake bed, we see the makeouts of wooden wagons with their horses still attached. If those bones could talk, Lord knows what they'd have to say. I'm sure they'd be pissed off at having to die out here in the middle of nowhere, carrying around a bunch of dead sinners. We see them along our path as well. Half buried in the sand are skulls, dozens of them. Too many to have died of starvation, I reckon. And Angel agrees. Why in the hell are we headed this way? I ask. Course he doesn't say anything, 'cause he's an ass. Last I checked, there are plenty of people you can save back west, where the girls are pretty and perky. He rolls his eyes. Don't be like that, I say. You know damn well that I make your pathetic life all the sweeter. Without me, you would have gone mad out here in these wastes. Course, that's assuming that you weren't mad before you met me. Which he very may have. Course, I don't dwell on Angel's sanity. He's a big boy, he can take care of that. All I care about is why in the hell are we walking in the middle of nowhere with not even the mountains on the horizon? I think back to the last town we was in, some piss-poor place on the edge of no man's land, only a supply store, a couple houses, and not even a damn whorehouse. Not even a damn whorehouse. Can you believe that? I've been to rat-infested towns with the God's damn decency to host a whorehouse. Sinners. They pride themselves on their ingenuity and collective thought, but they forget to put in the most fundamental aspects for making existing worth a damn. Well, anyway, I was half asleep. Angel was talking to the store owner about something. Yay, something. Something about a lake, right? I say aloud. Angel doesn't say a word, just trudges on like always. But I can tell he's annoyed, so I know I hit pay dirt. Yay, a lake? That guy back in town said this desert used to be a lake years back. Course there ain't one now. Angel just trudges on. So what? You gonna see what happened to all the water? Fat chance you find anything in this wasteland, you'll die of thirst before you find water. I laugh, and that really gets under his skin. I've been told my laugh is like a jagged blade scrapping across rock, or the sound a chainsaw makes when you rev it. A fine analogy if I do say so myself. Course I can have many voices. I'm a bit physically indisposed at the moment, so it comes with the territory. Being attached to this bastard's hand will do that to ya. We keep going through the lake bed, and soon I see mountains lift themselves up from the hazy, sun-dried horizon. Where there's mountains, there's water, and where's there's water, there's bound to be sinners for Angel to save and women for me to have fun with. See there, I say to him, I told you we'd find the other side. Now move those legs. I want to get to the humans by nightfall. He rolls his eyes and keeps moving. As we travel, the skulls and skeletons that dot the ground rise in staggering numbers, until Angel breaks the top of one's head, pulverizing it into dust. Angel stops and looks out on a field of bones, hundreds of them, thousands, millions of them, lining the lake bed floor in every direction. This gives even me the creeps. Course I don't let Angel know. If he did, I wouldn't hear the end of it. Angel keeps moving, though. The man is next to fearless, or just self-righteously stupid. Take your pick. If I wasn't attached to him, I'd probably be headed the other way. Hell, I wouldn't be in this mess in the first place. The lake of death is unnerving to behold. Each footfall breaks a skull or a femur. Each step clatters and bangs. Nothing good went down here, I say. Angel doesn't say anything, but I can tell he agrees. He grieves too, mourning the loss of sinners, even if there was nothing he could do to stop it. Buck up, friend. There's always more to save.
I'm not your friend.
Angel finally says in that pillowy voice of his. At last the grumpy Gus speaks. I was beginning to think you'd fallen so far deep into that head of yours, there was no pulling you out. But now that I have your undivided attention, what, pray tell, is your plan for solving this particular quandary?
Quandary?
If I had eyes, I would have rolled them. Yes, the question of why all these bodies, or should I say dead sinners, are all stacked up in this one spot.
They aren't stacked.
You know what I mean. What's the plan?
Keep going.
I laugh. Keep going, he says. I sigh. Why am I surprised? You always do this. I shouldn't be surprised, but I always am. He keeps moving and the bones get deeper. An hour later, he's up to his knees, wading through sinner bones. I bore easily, you see, and it's become my pastime to get under Angel's skin. I mean, I'm literally a part of him, but you get what I mean. I change my voice to something more seductive.
Come on now, big strong man you. Why don't we head on back, and I'll make it worth the walk.
Silence,
he says. It's calm as dew on a blade of grass. I snicker and change my voice again.
Come on, son.
My voice is an elderly man. Now that I think about it, it's the same rusty door hinge voice as the store owner in the last town.
Go on back. I know you're scared. All these bones and such, it scare anyone. But son, the thing you got to be scared of is the thing that put here in the first place.
Silence,
he says with a slight raise in his voice. I've almost pushed him over. I change my voice again to a little girl.
Don't listen to them, mister.
Angel stops dead in his tracks. Being attached to the righteous bastard, we have the proclivity to share senses, so I know for a fact that when he stops, he sees a little girl up to her armpits in the sea of bones. She's got red hair and is missing a tooth.
Don't listen to 'em, mister. Keep on going. There's water not too far away.
You see, usually I'd be clapping my pre-verbal back at having Angel hallucinate something. He whines and complains, sometimes cries. That's just a sad sight to behold, I tell you, but usually he gets over it. The thing is, I wasn't making him see things. Something had gotten into his head and was making him move. I was helpless as Angel began to wade through the bones until they were so high they reached his neck. He pushed through the bones until he reached a small clearing that was no bigger than a man reaching out to grasp water in a puddle, which was exactly the sight we beheld. The bones all seemed to be clambering over each other to reach this one puddle in the center. Bodies lay on the lake bed, nothing but skeletons of the old and young, rich and poor alike, reaching out for the only thing that mattered in the desert.
Here you go, mister.
The phantom girl pointed to the pool.
I know you're thirsty.
Angel swallowed a dry lump in his throat. I don't often get antsy, but when I do, it's usually for a good reason. Angel started walking to the lip of the puddle. Okay, Yang, playtime's over. Angel bent to his knees and I could feel his skin pressing into his jeans and the burning heat of the lake bed.
Haka,
he said, sleepy tone.
I'm so thirsty.
I could see the puddle. It was small and unassuming. It was the kind of thing that men would kill for. It was the kind of thing that would kill. I knew what it was, partially anyway. Angel cupped his hands to touch it. I could feel Angel's thirst, and it was terrible, like every part of him wanted to give up, that if he had just one little drink it would be okay. But it was nothing compared to the agony he endured every day. The hollowness, the aimlessness, the guilt. This thirst was nothing, and I knew it. Damn it, Angel, do you want to die? I used what little power I could gain while he was in this dazed state. Usually I let Angel have the run of his body until midnight when he was in deep sleep. I forced his right hand to stay up. It was marked in deep black scrolling runes and sigils that flared a black flame like smoke. My prison bars. You got all those sinners to save, all that guilt to undo, but if you die here, then nothing gets done. All those sinners will die, and it'll all be on your head because you got caught in some demon spell. That got to him. He blinked and was back to his old grumpy self. He kicked away from the puddle and drew his gun. The old revolver rested in his black scroll hand as he pointed it at the puddle. The old revolver felt rusted and overused. It hadn't been replaced in some 20 years and was suffering the misuse. The puddle sat innocent. I wasn't buying it. "You can knock that crap off." The puddle flexed and rippled as though something had been thrown in it. A single tendril slowly rose up 2 feet high in its center and pointed its tip at Angel. "Well, goddamn well, a water demon," I said. "I didn't think there were any of you left." The water tendril tilted its head.
Is that Hawker?
The demon said in an aquatic muzzled tone. Angel turned up an eyebrow as
You know him?
the water demon laughed.
Every kind knows the story of the...
The bullet exploded from the old gun, creating a puff of smoke. It slammed into the puddle. A second later, a torrent of water gushed out 20 feet into the air. The demon screamed in pain. Let's just say I don't like talking about my past. The ground began to shake and rumble. Angel looked at the gun.
I thought the bullets in this gun could kill demons.
That wasn't the demon, I tell him. That was just its antenna. The ground split where the puddle had been and water gushes out. Angel got the bright idea to run and started moving his legs. As the ground rumbled, the bones all began to rattle and shake a strange metallic range out, curling the blood and stabbing the ears. Angel ran faster, pushing his way through the sea of bones. Behind him, a fish-like creature erupts from the bones. The demon's true form was large, its mouth a gap lined with razor-sharp teeth. Its eyes a bloody red. Behind its teeth, a black netherworld sat spiraling. Its scales were black and silver, and its gills aligned with sharp spikes. Attached to his head was an antenna with a bulbous blue globule attached to the end. It crawled quickly on its flippers and pushes itself forward by its whipping tail. He's an ugly bastard, I say. I guess the water demon heard me because it let loose another bone-rattling roar.
Don't make it any more angrier.
Angel tells me as he rushed forward. Behind him, the demon crushes everything before him. I think you should use the gun, I remind him. As Angel runs, he points the gun back at the demon and pulls the trigger. The gun sparks and then puffs black smoke from the barrel and cylinder. You have got to be kidding me, I say.
I'm coming for you, Hawker.
The demon bellows. Just keep being fat and ugly while we deal with this, I say, which pissed off the demon to no end because he pursues his lips and a tight stream of water jets out. I give Angel some of my power and he gains enough reaction to dodge out of the way of the water. He looks under his arm and sees that the cloak he'd been wearing had been cut clean down the side. Angel scowls.
I told you not to get him any more angrier.
Sorry, you know I can't help myself.
You know if I die, you die right.
I haven't forgotten.
Then why do you insist on making it worse?
'Cause if I die, you die. At least I get a consolation prize, ha 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 ha.
You're insane!
Angel growls through clenched teeth. Angel's already on the move and the water demon is on our tail again. We soon move out of the sea of bones and back onto the dry lake bed, heading toward the mountains for what good it does us. The revolver, Angel's only useful weapon, has misfired. The damn thing has bullets that can kill demons, but it's as good as a paperweight now. You could always...
No.
He cuts me off. Angel knows he could get us out of this, but his fool self-righteousness is acting up. Really, I should call it a death wish. He thinks there's some way to get out of this, and there might just be one. As Angel runs, I spot a moving cloud of dust on the distant horizon moving toward us. I don't pray, being a demon and all, but I thank God for what I see. Moving on the horizon is a vessel from the world before. It rides on rubber wheels and spews gases from pipes coming from its backside. Angel knows what it is and says it right.
A dune buggy?
An odd sight in this day and age. They weren't unseldom seen, but they were prized possessions that men fought wars over. This car had a wide-open steel tub frame with big, broad wheels. People are on it, dressed in sand-colored cloaks and masks. They don't look like a friendly bunch, but under the circumstances, I'm willing to parley. The car is a good distance away, but they see Angel. And the demon. The car does a hard spin and puts its tail end to us. I thought they would leave us, but all they do is gas the engine a little and pull away, going just fast enough for Angel to catch up. Angel figures what they're trying to do faster than me. He tells me to give him more power in his legs, and I oblige. Angel feels a surge of rushing, black energy fill his veins. He moves with impressive speed toward the car. Behind, the water demon tightens his lip and fires a beam of water. The beam moves over two of the men standing up in the car. The top halves of their bodies bounced off the wheels, leaving bloody trails on the lake bed floor as they tumble to a stop. Seeing what happened, the car isn't so keen on helping us. The driver guns the engine and begins to speed off. "Oh, hell no," I say, before giving Angel another surge of energy. He jumped high into the air, wind whips through his hair as he landed on the top metal tubing of the car. He jumped down into the back seat. One of the masked men turned around and pointed an automatic rifle, a weapon from the world before, with a long knife attached to the stocky barrel. Angel put up his hands and I shut my mouth. There was a flash of light and an explosion of thundering sound. Angel felt all the wind come out of his chest. He looked down and saw something red stain his cloak. Oh, damn, I think. Why does he always have to introduce himself this way? Chapter 2, Desert Drifters. As Angel slumps forward against the back seat, his blood stains the patchwork metal flooring. I can hear the water demon roar in frustration as it waddles atop the lake bed, eating the buggy's lingering dust. If I had a middle finger, it would have been proudly upright then, but I didn't. So I imagined it instead. Angel was bleeding badly. I could just make out the driver arguing with the masked men who'd shot Angel.
"Why would you do that?"
The driver said in half panic. The driver was defiantly a woman, and judging by her tone, she was an older woman at that.
I'm sorry, Dottie. He scared me.
The one who shot Angel took off the mask to reveal a young woman with pretty gold eyes, innocent freckles, and ginger hair. I was salivating at the sight of her.
"Damn it, Sally.
Dottie hit the steering wheel.
We weren't supposed to lose anyone today."
Dottie looked back over her shoulder.
"Is he alive?"
Sally leaned over the back seat and checked the pulse around Angel's neck.
Somehow.
Sally said. "No thanks to me,"
"We have to get him back to the others."
Dottie said.
Can we waste supplies on him? He doesn't look long in this world.
"Damn it, Sal!"
Dottie smacked the steering wheel again.
"I want to know why he's out here. I thought everyone crazy enough to go out to Dead Man's Pond on their own accord was dead."
Sal looked at Angel, who was stabilizing. Her eyes were truly a lovely bright gold, the color of evening sand. She couldn't have been older than 18 at the most, and goddamn she looked pretty. I was going to have fun tonight if Angel didn't crock on me, which wasn't an unlikely possibility as the car bounced off the lake bed and onto sandy dunes. Rocky outcroppings sprung up from the sand, along with towers and buildings that had once towered over the sinners in their heyday. Now they were a part of the desert and only faded memories of the world before. As they continued to drive, the jostling of the car over the sand caused Angel to wake every so often. Most he got was rushing sand and the sound of the revving engine. I smelled the fear of Sally and the indignation that was coming off Dottie. These women seemed tough. Scared, but tough. Sally less so. Being the youngest out of the two, she also appeared to be the least experienced. She kept looking back at Angel and unknowingly at me. To have some fun, I whispered meaningless noise in her ear. Nothing coherent, but enough for only her ears to catch. Enough to make her even more frightened.
Dottie.
She fearful called back to the elder woman driving, never taking her eyes off Angel.
"What?"
Do you think he's one of them?
Dottie looked back. She pulled her mask down to reveal she was a beauty as well, with harsher feral features, wide diamond-shaped eyes the color of dried blood. Her most striking quality was the long scar across the right side of her face. It was ghastly. It came down from her scalp and stopped just at the corner of her mouth. Unlike Sally, she had a darker tan revealing that she'd tasted the sun longer than her younger companion. And so I was torn. Should I break in the little truffle or try my hand at the ravenous cougar? Decisions. However, that all didn't matter at the moment. What mattered was the look Dottie gave Angel. It was a look I'd seen in many a demon. She was deciding if traveling with a corpse was a better option. In the end, she decided not to. She shook her head, pulling her mask back up.
No, if he was, why would that thing attack him?
Sally looked back at Angel and me. I gave her a little whispered, and she shrilled in fright. I loved it. It was like having a puppy again.
Did you hear that?
She shrilled, looking around.
Hear what?
Dottie said, her tone slowly growing vexed. Sally looked back at Angel.
What if us picking him up was a trap? Just a way for them to find safe home? We should leave him.
I didn't like the sound of that. Whatever these desert jocks were using as ammunition, it was wreaking havoc on Angel's insides, and I was too weak from having shared my power with him. Keeping him stable was all I could muster at the moment. He needed medicine and rest. We both did.
We aren't tossing him.
Dottie said.
Dottie!
Sally pleaded, trying to hold back her bubbling fear.
I saw him jump 15 feet in the air before landing in the sand runner. If he's not one of them, then he's something worse.
Sal, shut up! And when we get back to safe home, I don't want you saying anything about what he did. Got it? Or I'll leave you out for a razor storm to strip your bones. Understood?
Sally nodded, but when she looked back to Angel, I could feel her fear, hatred, and mistrust. I couldn't blame her. Who would? They were taking a dying man with a demon in him back to their hidden home. Honestly, Sally had the right idea about dumping us. The sand runner gunned its engines, whining its way over and around sand dunes until the sky began to turn a deep purple. The sand began to give way, and as they raced over the largest of the dunes, they came over a crest, revealing the tops of buildings sticking up from the sand. It was a city from the world before. As they went past one of them, I made out the signs and advertisements. The sinners had built temples to their excess and greed, places for them to gorge and fatten themselves to death. They created watery drinks that were nothing but sugar and cut-fired potatoes that lasted as long as I had. The sandrunner rolled up to one of the buildings. It had once been high up in the sky, its main antenna blinking bright red for miles around, but now it was low to the ground. Its outer glass paneling, having long turned back into sand, leaving holes big enough to reinforce with sturdy rusted steel and make a door and guard posts on either side. The guard posts were manned with more sinners in similar cloaked desert garb as Dottie and Sally. Dottie stood up in her seat and waved to them. I caught sight of the gun strapped to her back. It too was a relic of the world before. Also, her ass was nice, and that was also good. What? If I hadn't mentioned it, you'd all be wondering why I didn't. Sue me. Anyway, the main gate began to fall forward. Dottie pressed on the gas and they headed in. The inside of the building was hollowed out. Along the right side of the wall, 4 more sand runners were parked. More of the desert jocks were milling about. Dottie parked the sand runner as a desert jock with a grey beard came up to them.
Dottie,
The old man said.
what's going on? Where's Danny and Trajo?
Kelder,
Dottie said, getting out of the driver's seat and hopping over 2 rows of seats to the back row.
help me get him down. Sal, I need you to find the doc and tell him he has a patient coming.
She looked at Sally, who stared at Angel.
Sally, go!
Sally was jolted in fright, looking at Angel before jumping down from the sand runner and running off into a door way in the back of the makeshift garage. Kelder doesn't object, but I can tell he doesn't like anything that's being said by the heavy lines that run deep under his brow. They help Angel down and move him over the sand-covered floor toward the door Sally disappeared into. The door's an entrance to a stairwell. It's dark and candles burn on metal shelves hammered deep into the stone bricks going down the stairwell. They take him down 4 flights. Deep into the dark, we go down until we stop at a door draped in dingy sheet. Dottie pushed aside the sheet, and they pull him in headfirst into the hallway with Kelder holding his limp form under the arms and Dottie holding his legs. The floor's less sandy, but they still kick up dust as they move. This place must have been an office building at one point because fluorescent tub lights clung to their ancient stations, petrified and pointless. In their place, more candles burn on shelves near the ceiling. The hallway, different doorways are cloth covered. From them, people and young children poke their heads to see what was going on. I had a little fun and gave the kids a whisper that sent some of them running. However, some gazed at the strange unconscious man as he was carried down the hall and past a room with a white sheet. The new room carried the smell of blood and formaldehyde. Candles burned around the room alongside dust-covered books, papers, and medical equipment. The books were old, from the world before, but the medical equipment was from Mordred, created by sinners from the East. There was a man in the room. He was rather young, with limp blonde hair and murky green eyes. "Who's this?" the man they called Doc asked.
Just save him!
Dottie barked. They pulled him onto the cloth-covered table in the middle of the room. The cloth was stained in dried blood and pain. A fine delicacy for a demon, but for a human it was touching the veil of death. They got Angel's cloak off and then pulled free his shirt. "My God," Doc gazed down in awe. "I can heal most wounds that Angel receives. Being the self-appointed hero of the wastes, he gets a lot. But I can't heal the scars that rake across his bodies. I can't heal self-inflicted wounds." Doc gets over his shock quick, which is good to see. Far too many humans tense up at the sight of blood, and in this day in age, they are on the rise. Doc got a vial on the counter behind him, and he forced its contents down Angel's throat. Angel sputtered and coughed before the foul-tasting liquid went clean down his gullet. It put Angel into a haze. The Doc then got some small-headed prongs. He told Dottie and Kelda to hold him down by the arms. The Doc braced his arm across the top of Angel's chest and jammed the prongs into the bullet hole. The pain Angel felt was immense. It carved its way through the bones on his ribs and through his back and down his toes. Through our connection, I felt a sting of pain. It was the first real pain I'd felt in years. To put it simply, I didn't like it. I screamed and black energy sputtered out of Angel's hand. Demonic energy is parasitic in nature, so when the energy was released, it tried to grab hold of any hosts. Sinners are good hosts. Luckily, everyone in the room was quick and they dodged the energy surges, but all the candle flames winked out. Me, I was done for the day and passed out. Chapter 3. Without Hope. Hell is a concept, see? It's all relative, it's all crap. And for instance, life can be hell, and in my experience, hell can be as simple as waking up on the wrong side of the bed or finding yourself trapped inside of the hand of some self-righteous bastard, but even then, it doesn't have to be hell. Hell is what you choose it to be. Before I met Angel, I wasn't in hell, bored out of my mind, yeah. But not in hell, you see. My hell isn't being trapped in his hand or feeling his hunger pains. It's his dreams. They're dark, they are violent, they are filled with blood, ripped mountains, burning cities, and men and women begging for mercy. One among them is a little girl with red hair and a missing front tooth. She says something, but I can never tell what because even though her eyes are bleeding like tears, her mouth moves, but nothing comes out. Of course there's more, things I can't describe, things I can't remember. Things I don't want to remember. I'm trapped in it. The only consolation I take in all this is that Angel's my cellmate and that he gets the worst of it. Of course, soon enough I can feel myself drifting back to the waking world. Angel smacks the back of his right hand against the wall, and I'm wide awake. Angel's still groggy from the drugs and his chest is killing him, but I'll sort that out, and in a few minutes he'll be right as rain. But until then, he's confused and looking around. The desert jocks look to have stashed us in a room, a corner office of some big wig from the world before. The back walls caved in and sand slides down the floor where old musty sheets have been laid. A single candle burns on a table against the wall alongside a fresh fold of clothes. Angel quickly changes into them. As he does, I bring him up to speed on all he's missed. When I'm done, he goes to the entrance. There's a metal door in the wall complete with hinges.
What about the demon?
Angel asks. The demon? What does the demon have to do with anything?
It's still out there.
Angel knocked on the door, testing its strength. Surprisingly, it's fairly sturdy. So, these people think you're a mutant freak at best, and in all likelihood will toss you outside to be eaten, maimed or raped. And at worst, they think you're one of them.
Them?
Not too sure about that. My best guess is that they're a bunch of mutants preying on these folk here. The desert jocks come across as a suspicious bunch.
Desert jocks?
He says, unsure of the name. Yea, thought of it myself. What do you think? He says nothing as he looks around for some way out. God, you're predictable. These people want to hang and quarter you, and all you're thinking about doing is rescuing them.
Where are my weapons?
I sigh. If by weapons you mean that piss-poor gun of ours, I think it's upstairs with Dottie.
Is she their leader?
Maybe. She certainly gave me a give-no-shit attitude. But then again, she could just be a bitch. A real pretty one, mind you. Angel went to the door and banged on it.
Hello?
He called. We were met by silence. How riveting, we're trapped. Angel went to the bed and sat down on the edge. Come now, Ang, let me loose a bit, have some fun.
You'd kill a dozen of them before you got to the exit.
Come now, Ang, I'd only kill 5 tops, Scout's honor. I laugh, and I know it gets to him.
I won't let you lose. I have to stay here until they decided to come.
Then they can tell you who they are. So predictable. Angel lies back in bed and closes his eyes. Me? I watch the paint dry.
What time is it?
Angel asks. Night, I tell him. Demons have a bizarrely innate sense of time. I really don't know why. It weirds me out sometimes. Eventually, Angel falls asleep. Like a child waiting for their parent to start snoring, I open one figurative eye. When Angel's in deep sleep, I can slip out of my bonds and run free. Nothing past 100 feet. But when you're trapped in a hand, you take the free time you can get. Being physically challenged as I am, doors mean little to me as I pass through the seams. I roam around the floor, finding derelict cubicles with defunct computers. I float over one of the cubicles and find a skeleton slumped over the keyboard. Damn, I think you died here, that sucks. Behind him on the wall of the cubicle is a picture of a cat hanging onto a tree. Funny text under the cat read, "Hang in there, baby." I look back at the skeleton dude, my sympathies. I travel to the higher floors by going up the stairway. I stop on one floor and find the hallway empty. Only the candles burn next to the veiled doors. I peek into one of the rooms. The room is barren and spotty with sand on the floor. I find a child sleeping in her mother's arm. They sleep on old covers in the corner of the room. On the wall above them, there's a drawing of 3 people. It's a drawing only a child could make. There's a mommy on the left, a daddy on the right, and in the middle is the little girl herself. I float over to the girl and feel my way into her dreams. Human dreams are far too easy to get into. The little girl dreams of her father. So typical. I twist it, it's easy. Just a little adjustment to the nervous system, and her dream of laughing and being chased by daddy turns daddy into a sharp-toothed monster. The girl begins to squirm in her mother's arm, and I leave out a bit less bored. I continue my fun in a few more rooms before going up a level. As snores reverberate through the hall, I follow one into a room. I find it to be the room of the desert jock Sally. She's dressed in a shirt and underwear. She sucks her thumb and is all cute. I go into her dreams. She's dreaming of running on a vast ocean. Maybe she has to pee or something. I'm no dream interpreter. I twist the dream, and now she's dressed in a stunning red lace gown in a ballroom. A chandelier studded with diamonds glitter lights all around as couplers waltz on the floor. She's confused as she stands in the middle of all the dancing. Unsure of the sights and sounds, she panics and slumps to the floor. I hold out a hand to her. "May I have this dance, my lady?" She looks up at me in awe. I've taken the form of a beautiful, handsome man dressed in a tuxedo. She takes my hand and we begin to dance. The world of the dream takes over, and she understands the steps without even being taught.
This place is so beautiful.
She says as I spin her around. We sway and turn together to the music that resonates through the air without a band. "Not as beautiful as you," I say.
Should I be here?
She asks. "Course, why not?"
They're coming.
They? I say, but before I can do anything more, the dream changes. The chandelier suddenly loses its luster. The people in the ballroom vanish, leaving only me and Sally. The music ends, cut dead like a rope attached to a guillotine. The color seems to drain away.
No, no.
She whimpers, crumbling to her knees. I kneel down next to her and wrap my arm over her shoulder. In dreams, I feel like I have a body again, if only in a hazy sort of way. And with a body comes the building pressure of a rising heart and the sweat coming off your face. There is a darkness coming. It's cold and creeps away at the world, turning it into nothingness. Sal whispers,
They're coming. They're coming.
Over and over. The darkness inches closer because I'm in her dream. I'm connected to Sal, not like Angel, but enough to know. There's something in the dark. Some unspeakable thing worse than death itself. I don't like to entertain death. She has good manners, but leaves a mess on the couch. As the darkness surrounds us, threatening to engulf us in its fear, trepidation, and the lurking hands that hide sharpening claws beyond the veil, I twist the dream, and the world shifts easily into place. Instead of the darkness of the ballroom, we lay on a bed of velvet crimson sheets, in a room of gray pillars and archways draped in long, swaying red silk. She says nothing as I caress her cheek. She looks longingly up to me. Of her own accord, she kisses me, and her lips are soft on mine, just like I thought. As I take in her presence, I smile. I lean close to her ear and whisper, "You are mine." It's then that she has a realization. Her look of longing turns to one of dread. Before her eyes, she sees my true form, and she begins to scream. It's all so hilarious that I can't stop myself from laughing.
You're one of them.
She shouts, half muttering it to herself as she tosses and turns in the waking world.
They're coming. Coming to kill us. Coming to make us their slaves. Feed us to their monsters and eat us. There's no hope. No hope. None, none, none.
She screams, and it's like harmony in the night. I jerk her close, and the mere sight of me squelches her scream as she looks up to me in terror. Don't scream for them, I say. You're mine now. If you're going to scream for anyone, it's going to be for me. I kiss her, and I feel a surge of black energy surge through me, into her. In the real world, she grips her bedding. She sweats and turns, writhing in pain, terror, ecstasy, and torment. It's all so much, and I feel her heaving and thrashing, and all I want is to tear her body to pieces and make her love it and me doing it. But dawn is breaking over the sands. Angel awakens and feels my wafting tether.
Come back,
He says, jerking his arm into a fist. All at once I'm torn from Sal's dream, and in an instant I'm back in the bastard's hand. Damn it, Angel, and I was just getting to the good part. Chapter 4. Judgments. Angel was on his 300th push-up by the time the door to our makeshift cell opened. I can say this for the guy. He may wallow in self-pity, but he defiantly has a rock'em board. Hey, I can say that. I've been a girl for a few centuries once or twice. The desert jocks that enter the room have rifles at the ready. Angel holds up his hands.
I mean you no harm.
He says, doesn't matter, I tell him in his head, they mean to do you harm. Angel doesn't disagree. One of the jocks moves aside and jerks his head to tell him to walk up first. Angel obliges, and he walks up the stairwell with his hands up. We go up a few flights. Along each landing, people are gathered. They stare out of their halls and whisper to each other. Angel turns his eyes down toward the steps. We go up, and eventually we go so high there are no more steps to ascend. We turn off the landing and go into the hallway. The hallway is different from the ones below. We're above the sand. Along the left wall, where windows once set, are left only crooked and eroded metal window frames to the light and the sand outside. We proceed down the hall, and more jocks with rifles and spear look out from doorways. We continue down the hall to a room with a white draped entrance. Angel stops at the threshold before one of the jocks goes around him and parts the way. The room's wide open and tilts at an odd angle to the right, so much so that Angel nearly falls when he enters the room, but catches himself before he looks like an even bigger fool Then he already is. The back wall is gone, giving an impressive view of the desert dunes. In front of it sits a long row of black tables and chairs and the sinners that sit in them. 2 of them are Dottie and Kelda. It seems I and Angel were right. Dottie is a leader, but she isn't the only leader we have to deal with. By the vexed look Kelda gives Angel, and then Dottie, I can tell he isn't on our side. It's not too late for us to get out of here, I tell him. He ignores me, instead going to the single crudely made chair in the center of the room. He sits down and faces them. Dottie's a familiar face and pleasing sight to the eye, but the other 4 look on with cold, indifferent eyes. Sinners, they think they can pass judgment even on each other as though they have the right. I'd spit if I had a mouth. Angel looks around the room. Desert jocks with rifles and spears line the walls. I spot one, and Angel gets a hard-on. Sally is back in her desert garb, and she's got a rifle ready in her hands. While the others look at Angel, she's the only one who keeps her eyes on the ground just at the foot of his chair. "Hey, beauty," I whisper to her, and she raises shaking, terror-filled eyes up to Angel. I laugh, and Angel grips into his right hand with his left with such a grip it hurts. "Easy," I say.
Stop it.
He mumbles under his breath. Dottie and the men and woman on the Desert Jocks makeshift council look at Angel with odd looks. They whisper among each other, hashing out what's going to go down before they convene and face Angel. Dottie clears her voice.
Who are you?
She says, with regal authority. Angel grips his fingernails into the cloth of his pants.
I can't say.
"Oh, perfect," I tell him. That's really what they wanted to hear. "Next, why don't you tell them you're here to eat all their puppies and steal all the freshly made cookies? They'll love that." Dottie bites her inner lip before clearing her voice.
You can't say, or you don't want to say. Stranger, you live and die by what you tell us. Why were you out near Dead Man's Pond?
I was entranced by the monster hidden there.
And how did you escape its magic?
Angel looked to the ground.
I can't say.
If they found out I was in his arm, they would have gutted him in a second. If they were stupid, that is.
Where did you come from?
Kelda asks abruptly, annoying Dottie.
A town to the west,
Angel said.
just on the edge of no man's land. Someone said there used to be a lake here. I wanted to see what happened to it.
Kelda snorted.
You came all the way out here with almost no supplies to check up on a dry lake bed.
He's a damn demon!
Sally burst out. Her voice was shrill and on the verge of tears.
We should send him away. He's one of them.
I whisper to her and she looks around.
Didn't you hear that?
She yells to everyone. Dottie glares at her and points to the door.
Sal, go get some air.
She tries to hold back her fury. Sally's eyes plead.
But
Go!
Sally's hesitant. She looks around for a sympathetic eye, but finds everyone unwanting to meet hers. Realizing her mistake, she puts one foot out and then another, and then she headed for the door and out of the room.
Sal has a point.
Kelda says,
This stranger could be one of them, we don't know. You shouldn't have brought him here, Dot.
And what was I going to do? Where was I going to take him?
Anywhere but here. For all we know, they're readying an attack.
Scouts haven't seen any razor storms all morning.
The scouts aren't back yet.
It was clear to me that even though 5 set before us, it really only mattered what Dottie and Kelda thought. The other 3 would fall in with whoever won their argument. And while I love to watch sinners bicker, I don't trust Angel to stand up and defend himself. So, of course, I have to take matters into my own hand.
Hey, hot stuff.
I say using Angel's mouth. Angel put his hand over his mouth and everyone in the room looks at him.
Excuse me?
Kelda says. I use my control to bring down Angel's right hand, my head technically.
I wasn't talking to you.
Angel fights me every step of the way, and he makes it fun. Each word is strained but clear. Angel hates it.
I was talking to the pretty one.
Dottie raised an eyebrow.
I can help you.
I relinquished my control and Angel takes a few breaths.
What?
Dottie asks. Kelda opens his mouth to say something, but Dottie puts up a hand and it silences him alongside a stern look. Dottie turned back to look intensely on Angel with eyes the color of dried blood.
What were you saying, stranger?
Angel tightens his grip on his pants.
I can help.
He says of his own volition.
You can help? How?
Angel looked at the sinners behind the table with grey eyes flaked with silver.
I can kill the demon for you.
Demon?
Kelda looked to Dottie, who in turn shook her head in confusion. Most sinners mistook demons for monsters.
The monster.
Angel corrected himself.
How?
Dottie says, and it's clear she's as skeptical as the rest.
My weapon. The bullets are forged from the bones of a great dragon from the south. It can kill the monster.
If you could kill that thing,
Kelda shouted,
then why is it alive and 2 of our people dead?
I can feel Angel's heart sink just a bit deeper into its depths.
My gun is old. It misfired. If I hadn't wasted my shots, then your men would still be with you. Their deaths hang over me. Please allow me to make things right.
Dottie leaned back in her chair and beckons Kelda to listen to her. They whisper to each other, and Angel feels the weight of all the eyes in the room on him. Dottie and Kelda finish conversing with each other and look back to Angel.
After some consideration,
Dottie says,
we've decided to take you up on your offer.
The other desert jocks mumbled to each other in surprise. They must have been pretty sure Angel was going to get booted back into the desert.
Until then,
she raises her voice to end the clutter of noise.
you will be held under lock and key.
Dottie looked to the other 3 at the table, and they nodded. Kelda folded his arms and leaned back in his chair, clearly unhappy with the arrangement. Dottie looked to one of the desert jocks standing guard. He walks up to Angel and points his gun at him. Angel gets up, and we're led back down to the lowest level of safe home. As the door to our cell shuts close, I say, that went well. Angel digs his nails into his right arm so tightly blood is drawn. I roar. Tendrils of dark energy spurt out and break against the old brittle concrete around us. The bastard's trying to rip me off him. Even if he loses his right hand, he'll tear me out. I fight him. Without an anchor point, without flesh of some kind, I'll be a grape withering on the vine of the world.
I told you to never take over my body. I warned you.
You need me, I roar at him. You damn well know, once I'm gone, what's in store for you and all the sinners. You need me, you can't fucking help it. I see bright hatred in Angel's silver-flaked eyes, hate and understanding. He lessens his grip on me. I'm half pissed off at this point, but I'm used to it. Angel likes to assert his dominance every now and then. I let the bastard slap me around. Keeps things interesting. It reminds me not to get too comfortable. This isn't a partnership. It's a jailhouse deal between inmates. Chapter 5. Sand Beasts. The next day, the jocks let us out of our prison. Under armed guard, they led Angel up to the garage where the sand runners were held. Jocks talk among themselves in groups, giving sneering glances to Angel as he passes by. The guard leads us to Dottie, who was leaning over a wide table near the sand runners. Dottie was looking at a tan leather map of the area. Resting above the map was Angel's rusty revolver.
You say you can help?
Dottie said, not taking her eyes from the map.
But how can we get help from someone we can't trust?
Kelda stood close, frowning at Angel.
Kelda and I both agree we can't trust a man we can't fight alongside. So?
She looked up at him.
Yeah, we're going hunting.
From her back, Dottie pulled a knife and stabbed it into the map.
There,
she said. She'd stabbed a part of the map marked by sand dunes. It was to the south. North, the dry lake, and just west of where Safe Home stood in mini artwork of sand-submerged buildings. Ooh, I say, what you want to bet it's sandworms? Angel ignored me. Come now. You can't be still mad about yesterday, can you? Angel ignored me. Kelda walked up to Angel with a spear in his hand.
Here,
he said, tossing the spear to him. Angel caught it out of the air. Damn thing was a piece of twisted steel 7 feet long, with a jagged piece of blackened, gnarled metal strapped to the end with the same cloth the jocks' cloaks were made out of. It was a hackney job at best, but Angel thought it could do some harm. Dottie gave Angel a piercing look as she pulled Angel's gun from the table and placed it to her back.
That spear will be your only defense.
She walked around the table and whispered.
If I were you, I wouldn't be getting any ideas about trying to escape. The razor storms will turn you into mincemeat in seconds. That is unless the heat or the monsters don't get you first.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am, I saluted metaphorically. Angel just nodded. Dottie walked past him with Kelda in her wake. Kelda gave Angel a scowling once-over. Stepping out into the middle of the garage, Dottie put 2 fingers between her lips and gave off a high-pitched whistle, catching everyone's attention. Including Sally, who turned around to face Angel with jittering fear she poorly hid behind a face of indifference.
Listen up.
Dottie commanded.
We didn't get any food yesterday and we lost people. I don't want either of those things to happen today. We'll take 3 sand runners to the hunting grounds and see if we can't catch a herd unaware. I want you safe and I want you fast. Is that understood?
Yes, the dozen or so sand jocks said in unison. I saw on the faces of the jocks a tan-fair skin and innocent eyes. Many of the jocks were just grubs. Realizing this, Angel felt a sense of fear and hesitation. Hey, I said, you're the one who wanted to come out here. Angel swallowed his fear, or at least did what little to ignore it. Of course, I noticed something else, something Angel looked over. All sinners are equal in his eye. All the jocks had a mix of tan skin. It was only Sally who had paler skin. Soon they'd boarded the sand runners, ours consisting of Angel in the back seat, Dot at the driver's wheel, Sally in the middle seat, and a couple of young desert jocks Angel hadn't been introduced to. Kelda took the driver's seat of the second runner, and then the third runner was packed with desert jocks armed with spears and rifles. Soon enough, Dottie turned the key on the sand runner, and its engine revved to life. Damn, I miss cars. The smell, the rumble of the engine. It meant freedom, it meant adventure. It meant wondering where they got the fuel to run these things. I saw a dozen crudely painted red petrol cans in the corner of the garage. But that didn't exactly explain how they filled them. Angel shared my thoughts, but those questions he pushed to the back of his mind. He needed to focus because soon enough a bunch of sinners would be putting their lives on the line for a bite to eat. Aren't we all? Dottie stood up in her seat.
Let's move out,
she yelled. The sand runner's engines revved on in unison, filling the garage with a primal guttural roar, clouds of dusty sand and black smoke. Dottie sat down in the driver's seat and gunned the engine. I had never appreciated the power of the sand runner. The moment she hit the gas, Angel was pressed back into his seat. Dot's sand runner was the first out of the opening garage and into the desert wastes. We bounced over the sands and moved with a quick and steady pace. Angel admired the wastes, admiring the golden sands with a melancholic stare. I just saw more dunes, saw the pointless inevitability of a city reduced to nothing but ash. Only looking at Sally's ginger-red hair helped to break up the monotonous silence and the rumble of the engine. I do so hate silence. It is death of the world, bound to the inconstancy of life's cruel game. And it's boring. After a few hours of travel, the sand runners reached their destination. Dot's runner slowed to a stop, perched over the crest of a dune. Below, in the sandy valley, was an odd creature, one Angel had never seen. There were a dozen of them. They were like balls of shimmering shaggy brown hair that fell to the ground, with 2 curving white horns that come out of the sides of their heads. They're large, bigger than a sand runner. Their snouts went into the sand and they came back up chewing.
What are those?
Angel asked.
We call them sand bison.
Dot answered.
They like to eat the sand for some reason.
Damn, I said. I owe you $5. Remind me next time we stop near an ATM. I was sure it was sandworms. They were lumbering, hairy things grazing across the sand with their noses to the ground. They were monsters born from Mordred herself. Creatures meant to kill angels and demons alike, but they were usually born mad, attacking anything and everything in sight. I'd never heard of a whole herd of them working together. They were an impressive sight to behold. They moved across the sand, sniffing and chewing, leaving deep grooves in their wake. The other 2 sand runners took positions on either side of us. Kelder stood up in his seat and called over to Dot.
What's our plan?
Dot stood. From the pack on her hip she pulled out a pair of binoculars. She held them to her eyes and scanned the herd. Spotting an easy kill, she pointed.
There!
She drew everyone's notice to the smallest sand bison that had wandered a bit too far from the herd. It was the size of a small elephant, but it seemed more manageable compared to its even greater adult counterparts.
We'll push it further away from the herd. Kelder, I need you and everyone else to keep the herd from grouping up with the small one.
Kelder scowled, looking unsure on Angel.
Wouldn't it be better if I did that?
Dot glanced ever so casually back at Angel.
We can handle this,
She said.
Head out.
Kelder snorted before falling into his seat and heading down the dune with the second runner in its dust.